Hey guys, I wanted to make this video here about my personal feelings on found footage films and um, possession films. And the reason I'm lumping both of these together is because, for one, there's a lot of found footage films out there right now, and there's a lot of possession films out there right now, and something that they've been doing here lately is combining the two. There's a lot of found footage possession films out there, and I wanted to take a minute to kind of go on a rant about the oversaturation of found footage and possession films, and the combination of the two. Before I go on this rant, though, I do want to discuss, some of the good things about them. There are some good found footage and possession films. Obviously, it wasn't the first one ever made, but it's the most popular, the most well known found footage film, the Blair Witch Project. It, that movie, it's kind of like Rob Zombie movies. You either like it or you don't. A lot of people don't like the shaky camera, and a lot of people just didn't like the Blair Witch Project. I love it. I think it's one of the greatest horror films ever made. There's not a whole lot that really creeps me out, but sometimes that movie gets under my skin. It changed the way that movies were marketed. It was really one of the first movies ever to utilize the internet to advertise and to get people interested. It changed the way that films were marketed. And you've been to the website, I'm sure, the BlairWitch.com or whatever it is. It's been years since I've been on there, but that website's pretty creepy. I remember years ago, sitting there on that website, like 2 in the morning, with all the lights out, sitting in front of the computer, and like reading all the mythology and everything, and I'd be like, looking behind my shoulder and shit, and it kind of got under my skin. There's not a whole lot that creeps me out, and that was just a website. But I love the movie. I think it's a great movie, and it's an important movie. I put it right up there with Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Exorcist, all the great horror films. Scream. Scream totally changed the horror game. I consider one of the most important horror films ever made. I'll be making another video about Scream and my feelings on the franchise and the subpar TV show. But like I said, that's another video. And there's a lot of great found footage movies out there, but there's more disappointing ones than there are good ones. And other good ones, the original Paranormal Activity. I'm not really a big fan of that franchise, and it's got a lot to do with, like, I just get tired of hearing about it. Everyone's like, oh, Paranormal Activity, it's it's so scary and all this and that. I think there's a lot of other better quality films out there, and scarier films. I'm just not a fan of the franchise as a whole, but the original one was pretty good. It was groundbreaking. Part 3 was pretty good. Part 2 had some cool moments, but part 4 was terrible. I mean, I didn't like it at all. It was kind of confusing, and it basically it had the same ending as part 3, and it just kind of seemed like a retread to me. I love the scene in the second one with the Toby under the sheet, with the babysitter and all that. That was cool. But and that movie had some cool stuff towards the end, but most of it was basically shots of a pool cleaner coming in and out of a pool. I guess the demon Toby is a neat freak. They should have called that film Attack of the Pool Cleaner or something like that. But I haven't seen the marked ones. I just the spin-off film that they did, I haven't really, I don't know, I haven't checked it out yet. It hasn't been on. There's a lot of other movies that are higher up on my list of things that I want to see, but. I am actually kind of excited about the new one, the Ghost Dimension. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about it being in 3D. I'm not sure how found footage and 3D together would work. I mean, I guess it's been done, but 3D films are hard to tackle. It's hard for directors because they have to cater to 3D. They have to shoot the film a different way. It kind of hinders them in a way, and it complicates things. There's a lot of cool 3D movies out there, horror and non-horror, but we'll see, I guess. But another thing that interests me about it is it is the final chapter in the series, which they're already talking about rebooting it. Remakes and reboots and everything. That's something for a whole other video. I got a lot to say about that, but they're saying it's going to be the final chapter, and they're going to pull out all the stops, and they're going to finally show the demon Toby, and you've all seen the poster with the girl standing on the bed and looking in the big portal in the wall, and I think it's actually going to be a pretty good entry in the franchise. There's so many found footage movies out there. I don't even know where to begin. A movie I watched a few months ago that I was excited to see was the found footage Bigfoot film Exists. By same guy that directed the Blair Witch Project. I was excited to see it, and it had some cool stuff in it. But when I watched it, I was disappointed, and it wasn't anything to write home about. But the thing that frustrates me is how Hollywood follows trends, and they just whenever something becomes popular, they just milk it for everything that it's got, and there's always all the imitators and all the people trying to cash in on that. It happened, and after Halloween came out in 1978, there was a bunch of slasher films, and when Scream came out in 96, you had I Know What You Did Last Summer, and all kinds of other movies, and they just, Saw, when Saw, the Saw movies were really popular, the whole torture porn thing came out with Saw and Hostel, and there was a bunch of those, and it's not just horror films, they do it with superhero movies and, comedies, and, just whatever's popular, everybody tries to jump on that bandwagon and cash in, I'm just tired of found footage movies. I want to see something else. When I'm watching TV and I see, a commercial for, a new horror movie coming out, 9 times out of 10, every other movie that comes out is, found footage, and I'm tired of it. There's too much of it out there, and it doesn't seem like anybody's really finding any way to make it interesting anymore. And I think that filmmakers need to, start putting out more original ideas and stop, using gimmicks as a crutch, and and that brings me to possession films. There's an oversaturation of possession films in the market. Let's start with the good before we get into the bad. Obviously, before I even say it, you already know The Exorcist, greatest possession film of all time. The Exorcism of Emily Rose, that was a pretty good one. The Last Exorcism, it wasn't the greatest thing, but I really liked the original one. I didn't care for the second one, although it did have a pretty cool ending. And that's one of the original Last Exorcism, and also Possession of Emily Rose. Those fall into that subgenre of found footage possession films. Then the ones that are non-found footage, like what was that, Deliver Us from Evil, and they're another thing too, I guess I could do a whole other video about this, is all these movies based on true events, and there's a lot of those out there. So you've got found footage, possession, based on true events, and then you got a lot of movies that are all three of those. But you know, Deliver Us from Evil, it was okay. It had some cool stuff in it, you know, but um, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, name off a bunch of them because to be honest, you know, they're all pretty forgettable and I don't remember a lot of them. But you know, there's a lot of them out there. There's a few good ones. There's a lot of shit ones, and you know, for found footage, give me Blair Witch. I'm good with that. For possession, give me The Exorcist. You know, and you know, until somebody can you know find something new to do with either one of those subgenres, you know, please give us something else. You know, I mean, I'm a big fan of slasher films, and yeah, you know, you could argue, well, you know, Shane, there's a lot of, you know, slasher films out there too, but you know, when's the last time that you saw a good slasher film come out in theaters? And I'm not talking about, you know, a remake of, you know, Friday 13th or Halloween or anything like that. When's the last time you saw a good original slasher film come out? You know, the haunted house genre, you know, that's another one that we're getting oversaturated with. You know, Insidious came out. You know, that, you know, came out around, you know, when Paranormal Activity came out. Both those films, you know, ever since then, everyone's like, oh my God, we got to do ghost movies, haunted house films, you know. And you know, I don't know how many of you saw the remake of Poltergeist. I thought it was crap. You know, Sam Rockwell was great in it. It was a pleasure to watch him and his character. I really dug, you know, his character as the father of the family, but that was really the only good thing about that movie, you know. But I'm getting off subject. You know, I'll do a whole other video about remakes and you know my thoughts on that. But you know, what's it going to take to get some original ideas? You know, and people stop you know relying on gimmicks. You know, like found footage and you know possession films. You know. How many? You know, there's always new possession movies coming out, and you know, they never do anything different. You know, there's always all the same signs of you know of the possession. You know, bad skin and cuts and words appearing and you know fucked up eyes and you know talking in different languages and cussing and you know body contortion and you know voices changing, you know levitation. You know, I was just reading an article on Bloody Disgusting. I actually posted it in the group, you know, the other day, you know, about possession films, you know, how they're all none of them do anything new, you know. It's the same thing with found footage, you know. I'm just over it all. I'm just, you know, I'm never one to get into fads, you know. I'm getting tired of, you know, I love zombies and I'm getting tired of all the zombie stuff. You know, like I said earlier, though, that's for another video. I'm tired of found footage. I'm tired of possession films. You know, there are some good ones, but you know, it's just, you know, it's beating a dead horse. You know, a lot of people probably disagree with me on this, but you know, I liked the houses that October built, a recent one that came out like a year or two ago. I thought that was a pretty cool. The ending was disappointing, but you know, I've worked in a haunted house, you know, or a spook attraction or whatever you want to call them. You know, it's really cool, and I really I dig that. You know, it's kind of a subculture all to its own. Really, you know, you know, it's kind of a strange little community of people, horror fans like us usually, and you know, that movie's really cool if you're into that kind of thing. You know, and you know, just gets you in the Halloween spirit. I think, you know, the houses that October built would be a great movie for anyone to watch in October leading up to or on Halloween. But you know, I could ramble on and rant and rave about it, you know, for hours and hours. But you know, basically, you know, Hollywood, you know, and not just Hollywood, you know, the independent studios and filmmakers, you know, they all need to find something else to do, because you know, I'm getting bored with it. I don't know about you guys, but that's my stance on found footage and possession films. There's too much of it. There is such thing as too much of a good thing. So please give us fans something else, you know. let's see something different. Let's see, it's hard to do nowadays because it's, basically everything to be done has been done. But, let's want somebody to try and create some kind of a new genre or subgenre, or, if they're going to do something with an existing genre, just do something fresh, please. I'm begging you. And I'm sure most of you guys will agree with me. And, that's my rant. And let me know what you guys think in the comments or on the Facebook group. I'm excited to see what your guys' opinions are. And as always, keep it scary.